To the people, we promised to be here at 5:30 for the earlier meeting. Sorry about that. It's amazing coming from Texas, which is such a large state. I'm shocked to find out it takes just as long to drive across Connecticut as it does Texas. Our forefathers, when they cut all these states little small up in the Northeast, they must have known this was coming, right? It's amazing. My name's Steve Thompson. I'm from Austin, Texas, but I live on my ranch in Llano, Texas. It's an exotic game ranch in the Texas Hill Country. I live in a big log home I built out of all native Texas cedar right from our area. And it's all a dream come true to me because of Ambit Energy. And what excites me the most now is not just the money I can make. It's been a dream come true that way. It's like, how many other people can? And that's why I asked you to do a training before the presentation. When you host these meetings, wherever you're hosting them, I suggest you do a jumpstart training at 6:15 and then the presentation at 7:30. But if you don't mind, even though I preach that all the time, I want to dispense with the jumpstart training. Y'all can watch that online. I'd like to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I've got some things I want to go over, and I've got a couple, 2 or 3 other national consultants en route here right now. I thought they were going to beat me, but they're not here. In a few minutes, you'll have a new national consultant, Pastor Kenny Smith. He just texted me and said he's less than 5 minutes out. National consultant, the first national in New York, Hanan Oxenhandler, was en route. And the newest national consultant, Henry Yee, will be here. So you're going to have a southern redneck, a Jewish guy from New York, a Chinese guy, and a black preacher, all here as national consultants at one time. And that ought to be enough proof by the time we start the business presentation that pretty much anybody can do this. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited to be here with Linville and all the guys that build so much here. And I'll be excited tonight to have all those, because those nationals are all people that I mentored. They all look to me, and it'll be fun for you. We had a little fun with it last night. We were in Massachusetts, and I went through some training points. And as soon as I got through, Henry was a little late. I called him up to the front and said, "You take it." And he started repeating with a Chinese dialect almost exactly what I had just said. And pretty soon, on like point number 3, the audience was just howling. And Henry thought it's because he was so funny. It was because I had just done the exact same thing. And one lady in the audience raised her hand. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Is he in your downline?" I said, "How'd you figure that out?" And I love that now, because it's proof that this is not a business of innovation for success. It's a business where you duplicate success. So you're going to have a couple, 2 or 3 guys come in here now that I'm fortunate enough to have a hand in their training. And it was neat for me to watch. You know, I've got you'll see tonight when I'm training parts where I teach you to tap on your watch. And the whole room roared when 5 minutes later Henry Yee started tapping on his watch, because it's the things we pick up. Laugh and enjoy it, but realize that I did it. It worked for me, so I kept doing it. I taught it to them, and they've taught it to so many people that those 3 guys represent tens of thousands of consultants now, and it's amazing. And I just want you to do the same thing. We are not going to show you something that won't work. I won't show you anything I heard about or I think might work. I'm going to show you things that worked. I have failed my way to success. I have done it wrong long enough to finally figure it out. I'll do my best to share those things with you. We've beat our heads against the wall, and we just don't want you to do it. But what I'd like to start with is, in keeping with whatever you want to hear, and because you not only came out early, you came out earlier than I did, is talk about what you want. So if anybody has questions about things that are working for you, if it's working good for you, share it and help the other team members. This business is all about helping everybody. And by the way, in Ambit, we're all one team, so help anybody you can in Ambit. And if you have a problem, if you have a question about something that's not working or how something works or should work, please ask it. This is a place that we like to teach with what I call real transparency. Not political transparency. You know, the politicians say they're transparent. Is mud's what they are. But we are actually open. So has anybody got anything they'd like to start with? Yes, sir.
So Steve, you're in an area that isn't served by Ambit Energy, and I think Steve Cornett's down in St. Louis, or
Sean Cornett,
and they're not in that state at all. And I was just wondering, how do these guys become so successful, and they're like maybe hundreds of miles from where Ambit Energy is available.
Well, you're absolutely right. When I looked at Ambit, I realized I lived in Austin, Texas. I'd been in the insurance business there for 30 years, had thousands of clients. I knew a lot of people, and we're not deregulated. You couldn't be a customer there. I couldn't be a customer. There wasn't anything around us close, really, that could be customers. Sean, we were talking about, Sean actually lived in Bernie, Texas at the time, partnered up with his buddy Damian Pekacek. Bernie is a small town that's not deregulated, but it's only about 30 or 45 minutes from San Antonio, fourth largest city in America, that's not deregulated. So none of them could be. Brian McClure lived in Austin, same as me, not deregulated. Philip Eckhart lived in Austin, not deregulated. And now we just named 5 of the top 10 money earners in the company. One theory I have is that when we started, we knew we were going to have to get on it and work hard. We have to find our customers and find people in other areas. My key to success has been not just talking to my neighbors, which I do even though it's not deregulated, but I'll always say if you can, think through people, work with individuals, but see the networks behind them. I don't want to just know you, I want to know who you know and who they know. And I built my business by starting right there in Austin with the first presentation I talked to a bunch of people that can't be customers. Most of them joined because I said, does anybody know anybody? We were only in Texas then, so I said, anybody know anybody in Houston or Dallas or East Texas or West Texas? A lot of people. And, you know, if you think about it, if Connecticut wasn't open right now, let's just play like for a second, it's not. Does anybody here know anybody in Massachusetts? Don't you wish you'd have joined before Connecticut opened? You should have gone ahead and got started because that's what I did. And now I'm blessed with one of the largest teams in the Northeast, and I'm a Texas redneck. But that's what the difference is because, and I honestly think some people join, and all they have to do to get their customers is talk to their neighbors and friends, and it's so much simpler that equates to so much easier. And this isn't easy. Even if you live in an apartment with a bunch of people, that's not easy. It's simple because all you got to do is ask them, but it's not easy to overcome the fear of rejection and stuff and go talking to people. So I think a lot of people get complacent about it because they know it's going to be they think it's going to be so easy. They just keep putting it off until it just doesn't happen. I've seen a lot of people, unfortunately, go past their 28 days and they say, I didn't get my bonus, it's not working for me. They just quit. I'm going to share something, you can't repeat this now because it'll hurt feelings, but I sponsored Sean Cornett. He didn't trigger. I didn't get $100 for sponsoring him. Sponsored Damian Pekacek. He didn't trigger. Didn't get $100 for him. I sponsored Chris Atkinson. Chris didn't trigger. He didn't get his customers in the first 28 days. Oh, by the way, they're all multi-million-dollar earners. Because the real focus of this business is to sponsor people and help them gather customers. And the only reason any of us ever really gets customers is because if you don't get your handful of customers, you don't get paid on everybody else's customers. So Chris went right to work. I didn't talk to him about customers. I should have. I hoped he'd get them along the way. But, you know, the first day I worked with Chris, he said, what do I need to do? I said, I will be there this afternoon. I live 300 miles away. I said, I'll be there this afternoon. You make sure you have 3 or 4 people for me to talk to when I get there. And we went there and we sponsored the people we were with. I worked with him. And he said, what do I need to do tomorrow? I said, 3 more people. And if you just start concentrating. So honestly, I share with y'all privately that this really shouldn't be called 526. It should be called 265. You want to really build this business, you sponsor 2 people as quick as you can. You help them do the same thing so you have a team of 6, and then y'all all better scramble and get your 5 customers or you're not going to get paid. And what gets rewarded gets repeated, but more people do things out of fear of loss than they ever will out of chance of gain. And if you knew that you just came in the business and this whole row of people came in under you and they're working and you're not going to get paid for what they do, you'd have your customers tonight. You'll get it done. And that's why the first thing when you sponsor people is to have them contact other people to look at the video about being consultants. They just have to remember that 8 out of 10 people are going to tell you no. And those 8 can be customers. So without any extra effort, you can say, oh, by the way, if you're not going to help me build my business, you're not going to work with me day after day, you're not going to help my kids even go to college, you will at least try the service and help me. It won't inconvenience you, it won't cost you anything, probably save you some money, and I won't bug you anymore. I mean, that last line, that I won't bug you anymore, people like, put me in. I'm ready. And you get your customers by default. But again, never start off, to even your grandmother, don't start off by saying, Grandma, would you be my customer? You start off by saying, Grandma, I want you to watch a video about how my business works and tell me what you think. She may be 88 years old. You know she's not going to do the business, but you show her the video. No one has ever watched that video and then said, honey, I was going to be your customer, but now that I've seen that video, I'm not going to. No, it's education about how it works and why it's important to you and why she should be helping her grandson with this business. And honestly, when I was in Excel at age 78, my mother became a senior consultant. You know, and she was in a nursing home, and while everybody else was talking about their bladder problems, my mother was talking about residual checks. So don't pass on anybody. And she was the best customer gatherer I had, because you went by my mother's room, you're going to be a customer. You got a telephone at your house? Come in here, honey. You know, and she'd get them from her bed, whatever it took. So just don't think people can't. But that whole thing is to tell you, it's about your desire, not where you live.
Amen. Yeah. Amen.
Now, if you live here, you got to step up. It's fortunate. But don't let that make you be lazy. Just because you know you can walk down your street getting customers, remember, focus on asking people to look at the business, either a video or a live presentation, and a lot of them are going to tell you no, and when they do, just don't forget to toggle over and ask them to try the service. You'll get all your customers by default, but it's success in your business. How many people, anybody in here, well, I don't want anyone to ask that, I'll put it this way. How many of y'all got 2 or 3 consultants on your team the first month you were in the business? Yeah. Does anybody in here know anybody that got 2 or 3 consultants their first couple weeks in the business and then quit?
No.
You know a lot of people that didn't get anybody their first month and quit. That's what it's all about. So when you sponsor somebody, you've got to get other teammates for them. So that's why I say secretly it's 265. That wouldn't sit good with the government because it sounds like we're just going for consultants. But I'm here to tell you, you don't make a lot of money gathering customers. You make money building a big team of consultants who have to gather customers or they don't get paid. And then when they get paid, they're like, cool, now I'll sponsor more people. So focus on, there's 2 things we do in Abbott. Everybody's seen the presentation 100 times. Most of us have. I'm sorry, there's a guest in the room. You'll see it in a few minutes. But we all do 2 things. We gather a few loyal customers and sponsor people and help other people learn how to do the same. The gathering customer portion, number 1 of that, is about 0.02% of your business. That's how long it takes. You get that done in a hurry. The rest of your career is number 2. So where do you want to spend the bulk of your time? You get, every time you get a customer, you qualify, but you probably make a nickel. Man, in a year, that's, you know, we're kicking now, you know. But every time you sponsor somebody that gets customers, you get at least $100, sometimes $200, $300, $400. And those customers each pay you nickels. So the compound effect starts immediately. So I started in Austin. Sean started in Burning. By the way, I mean, not only being in Burning, what was dumb is when he went home to marry his high school sweetheart, he moved back to St. Louis, where it also wasn't deregulated. So, you know, and I lived in Austin and I made enough money in Ambit, I bought a game ranch in the Texas Hill Country in a co-op where I can't be a customer. So there's no accounting for intelligence. Sometimes we don't do. But we knew to be successful, we need to find consultants and find them right now. And along the way, be smart enough to bend over and pick up the customers as they say no. Anybody have any questions about that? If it's not, you know, I know Brian calls that paradigm shift, that's a neat name. If I was going to use that name, the paradigm shift ought to be, you're in the business of building a sales and marketing team, consultants. Many as you can get, everywhere you can get, everybody you know, who do you know that might know somebody that knows somebody wants to make some money? And oh, by the way, we fund this whole thing by saving people money on their utilities. but keep the main thing the main thing. And then make sure you get your customers. Because I got to tell you, when Sean didn't get his customers, that hurt my feelings. Because if he'd have just, I know people were telling him, no, if he just had, I'd have gotten paid. And I didn't get paid. But in that time, that 28 days, he did bring in 15 or 18 consultants. And most of them got their customers, so I kind of didn't complain at him too much. And that's what happens most of the time. It's keeping the main thing. And he was network marketing experience, so was Chris. We were people that knew it's going to come from that. And you start getting your customers when you find yourself about to miss a check or you need a promotion and you got to get some more customers to get that. That's what makes people get customers. And I'm telling you, if you start off day one, just remember that if you ask 10 people to look at Ambit, 8 of them are going to tell you no. They won't even look. You cannot know what they do not know, so they just say no. They don't even know what they're saying no to. No doesn't even mean no. No means no, I don't understand, or no, it's not the right time, or no, not now. None of that matters. You just want to be polite, smile, put them back on your list, and the best place to put them on your list is ask them to be a customer, because you'll have a list of customers. In a few months, they will say, the first customers I got, first one was a guy that does financial service planning for me. He wasn't going to say no to me. I've been pretty successful, and he handles my investments. I called him and said, hey, I need a favor. He said, anything you need. He lived in Dallas, where it is open. And I said, I need you to be my customer. I started an energy business, and I need customers. He said, I'll be glad to. There was no talk about rates or anything, you know, it's just, I'll be glad to. And I said, okay, now I need something a little bigger from you. He said, what's that? And I said, I need your neighbors, because I don't know them, and I'm assuming you do. So I need some help. Because if I can't get my customers, I'm not going to make more money, and there won't be any money invested with you. So pretty soon John was introducing me to people. What was amazing, though, is he signed up, and a month later he got his first bill from Ambit. And he called me and said, hey, Steve, thanks for that Ambit deal. I said, no, sir, thank you. He said, no, my bill dropped by like $40. I said, well, yeah, that's what I told you to do. He said, yeah, but it did. I'm thinking maybe he didn't believe me the first time, right? He's just doing it because you help friends out. You help people you do business with. We call it the American way. If there's somebody doing business with you, you're buying dry cleaning, haircuts, beauty supply, whatever you're doing, they ought to be buying energy from you. And I come from the insurance world. Right now, if your insurance agent is not at least your customer, there's a lot of other insurance agents out there. You need to meet another one. Hair cutters, nail people. We do business with people who do business, but that's the key to success. It's not where you are, it's how big's your desire, and do you take action on that. But I do think we had an advantage, because I knew when I started, if I didn't reach out further, I was sunk, and I did not want to sink. Great question. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I work a full-time job, 8 to 4. Go home, cook supper, blah, blah, blah. Is there I shouldn't say an easy way, but I'm having a hard time fitting the hours in, and by the time I get home from work, and is there any... That's not only a great question, this will be a great training program. She works 8 to 4 every day, has to make dinner for family and kids. She's got a pretty full schedule right now. Two things I'll tell you. First, on the sarcastic side, I'll tell you, when I started, I owned an insurance agency. I'm a real estate broker. I owned a music management and production company. But I figured I was only working part-time, only about 10 or 11 hours a day. So there was still 18 hours left. I just have to cut out some sleeping and eating time or something. That's part of that desire thing. But the more important lesson is, what do you do at work? I'm in insurance. I work for insurance.
Work for insurance. Okay, great. I love that.
I'm a benefits specialist.
Do you get breaks?
I get a half hour a day.
What do you do during your break?
Usually eat at my desk and continue to work.
Could you make one phone call at the start?
Absolutely.
Make one phone call at the end of that break and eat right quick in between the two?
Sure.
2, 2, 2. It's all it takes to have success. Write this on your paper, 2, 2, 2. Not across, down. They call it vertical. You don't have to be smart to be successful. Write that down. Every day, if you're part-time, and most of us are when you start, first off, you got to have a list of 50 or 100 people. If you don't have a written list of 50 or 100, you're not serious about this yet, and you won't have much success. So stop what you're doing, go home tonight, and start making a list. That's our inventory. That's our assets. Once you have that list and prioritize it, then you're going to every day call 2 people off that list. Just 2. We're talking, if it takes you more than 6 or 7 minutes to call those 2 people, you're talking too much. And I'll get into the invitation in a little while, just how to do that. And then make the second 2 is make 2 follow-up calls to people you've previously invited them. Now, only 2. You may have 25, 30, 40, or 100 people you've already asked, and you feel like you need to follow up with all of them. Do not. You need to pick the highest 2 priorities every day. Learn to prioritize yourself. Your time is precious, so you call the 2 hottest repeat prospects. And then your job is to meet 2 new people every day. Someday, and somebody in this room is going to tell me they're out of prospects. They've already asked everybody they know. Number one, average 18-year-old person knows 2,000 people by the time they're 18. They just don't remember who they are. You get to be my age, you don't remember very much at all. But if you get a phone book out, and I'm not saying call everybody in the white pages. I like the old yellow pages. Just start looking at occupation. It says accountant. Who is your accountant? Don't have one? Who would you get if you had one? You need to figure that out. Baker, where do you buy your bread? Where do you buy groceries? Where you start going through occupations and listing people, you'll come up with a list. But every day, you call 2 people and invite them. Every day you follow up with 2 people you already tried. And the meeting 2 new people is so you will never run out. And when you get off at 4, so I already took 10 minutes out of your lunch break. So now you're down to 20 to eat. But every day when you're on your way to work, do that follow-up call with those 2 people. Just on the way to work. I hope you have hands-free in your car because I know it's illegal if you don't. But call 2. And on your way home, or call 1 on the way and 1 on the way home. On your way home, stop somewhere, pick up some milk, pick up some whatever, and quit walking past people. Go back to being a 6-year-old, smile and say, "Hi, I'm Steve. How are you?" And when you meet strangers, do not market to strangers. National consultant, Pastor Kenny Smith. Come on up here and join me. Kenny, we're also known as Ebony and Ivory. I'll let y'all figure out who's who. We got that nickname early on in Ambition. We were walking down a hall at an Ambit event, and they had a big grand piano sitting in the lobby. And I said, "Man, I don't play piano. I wish I did." Kenny said, "I play piano." I said, "Man, I play the blues harmonica." So I ran up to my room and got a harmonica and came back down. We went to this piano and we said, "Let's try one song real quick," and then they're going to come throw us out because we'll be making noise. And on about our 3rd song playing, man, this guy can sing. On about our 3rd song playing, a crowd had gathered and here came security. So we knew it's over, We sort of finished that song early and said, "I'm sorry, is there a problem?" He said, "No, there's some other guests in the lobby." And I said, "We're making too much noise." He said, "They wanted to know if it's okay if they join y'all." And it's so cool. We had a lobby full of people. We played everything either one of us even vaguely knew. That's right. And the best part is we weren't probably that good, but nobody else knew. And ever since then, they billed us out as Ebony and Ivory. So what we're into right now, Kenny, is Q&A, talking about what they need to know. And I just explained that all you got to do is have a big written list and do a little bit every day and be organized. So you call 2 people every day from the prospect list. You follow up with 2 others that you've already called, the highest priority 2. And you meet 2 new people every day because you don't ever want to be the guy that says, "I don't know who to talk to anymore." That's right. And how do you talk to strangers? Number 1, my opinion, do not market Ambit Energy to strangers. If you go out in the cold market, if you think your friends have been beating you up about Ambit, wait till you get in the cold market. They'll really give you a whipping. A lot of people go to the cold market because they're not embarrassed when they get rejected by a stranger, but you're also not succeeding. And if you sponsor somebody in the cold market, if you're really good and you sponsor cold market people, first time they hit a brick wall, they won't even take your phone calls anymore. They're gone. It's all a waste of time. So if you meet somebody on the street and you say, "Hey, would you like to look at Ambit Energy?" To them, it's the same as you saying, you're in Manhattan walking down the street and you say, "Want to buy a watch?" That's the level you've sunk to, and that's how they think about you. So what I do, and I'll get Kenny's take on this thing, but what I do is I operate by form. F-O-R-M. Write that down your page. You got 222 now below it, write form. F-O-R-M. What is a person's absolute favorite subject to talk about? Themselves. And by nature, the most important part of themselves is their children and their family. So you talk to people about family. That's the F. The O is occupation. You talk about what people do. You hear about their dreams and things by doing that, and you're making mental notes, not physical notes, but mental notes about that person so you know how AMBIT will help them later. Then you talk about them, the R, that's recreation. What do they like to do? What do they wish they were doing? And then the last one you talk about is money. Because I got to tell you, in our business, our product appears to be electricity and natural gas, but for us in here, our product is money. Money buys time freedom. Money buys charity. Money buys, it'll not only change your zip code, it'll change your children's outcome in life. Because I know I'm not an expert, but I can tell you this, how much money you make can easily determine the kind of people your kids hang around, where they go to school, who their associates are, and how they turn out. I'm not saying it can't happen in a poor neighborhood, but it's less likely. So by the way, how many people in here have children? What do your children need the most? I'm not a parent. I don't have a child, but I know the expert. What is the one thing your kids need the most?
Wi-Fi and time.
No. The one thing your children need the most is wealthy parents. Because all that other stuff comes from that. That's what they need. So we're here to teach you how to be wealthy. So family, occupation, recreation, or money. Let me pick on somebody. I'll use you since you asked the first question. What's your first name?
Steve.
Steve. My name's Steve. We're in Starbucks. We're just leaving. And when I'm walking down Starbucks, I see you say, hey, I'm Steve Thompson. How are you? What are you going to do when I say I'm Steve? Hold out my hand. Shake my hand. That's right. And then I say, hey, you live around here?
No, I live in Farmington.
Farmington. Is that far from here?
A half hour.
About a half hour?
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. Are you married, have a family?
Yeah, sure do.
By the way, if you're talking to a woman as a man, you say married and have a family. Don't say, are you married? Because that's a whole different conversation coming, you know? Very enough, you do have a family?
That's right.
Oh, how many kids?
Two.
2 kids? Boy, girl?
Both, yeah.
Both, one of each. What? That's some special planning at your house, huh? That's cool. How old are your kids?
20 and 22.
20 and 22, so you're pretty much done with most of the parenting now. You're just waiting to see what the results are, right? Ah, good. What do you do for a living? Notice I moved from family. I'm on to occupation now. What do you do for a living?
Software development.
Software development. So you actually work with your brain. You're way ahead of, I'm a salesman. I don't know that much about it. How long have you been doing that?
35 years.
35 years? So you're pretty good at it by now?
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah, that's cool. What do you do for fun?
Ambit Energy.
Well, let's leave one out. Since you're a stranger right now, let's leave that one out. What do you do for fun?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
I mean, do you fish or ski or hunt or any hobbies? Do you like video games, travel?
Yeah, sure, travel.
Travel?
My wife likes to travel.
Oh, your wife likes to travel. That's more important. Who cares what you like? Travel's number one at your house. Do y'all get to go everywhere you want? I mean, does your software development pay you enough money that y'all can take time off and see the world and enjoy yourselves?
Nah, I'm really kind of a tightwad.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough deal. Boy, he's giving me some real clues here. You notice that? Because now I've just asked him about money, and I know he can't afford to do what he wants, and he's tightwad being careful with his money. I am too. I just be careful with large amounts of it. So I say, listen, here's the watch part. I got to go right now. Or sometimes you say, I don't have time right now, or we don't have time. I got to go right now, but hey, I'm in this area quite often, and maybe I'll be in the Farmington area. Why don't you give me your email address, and I'll drop you an email. And then when I'm in the area, maybe we can just get together and have coffee. You got time for that?
Sure.
I don't ask for phone numbers, ask for email, because they'll hesitate and then they'll say, if he sends me an email but I don't like it, I can just delete it. It's gone, right? I say, good, and here's my email. And then I go home, I leave, and when I get to my car, I stop and write those notes down because I'm going to forget. Married, 2 children, they're in their 20s. He's a software developer. He's real good at what he does, got 35 years in it, but his wife wants to travel, and they don't get to do enough travel. There's the key. There's what we're looking for. Things to feed. But I'm still not going to talk to him about Ambit for 1 month. Remember this part, most important thing. This is relationship marketing. The relationship comes first. I don't care if it's a close friend you're talking about, you don't damage your friendship to market to them. And if it's a stranger, you don't even market to them because it isn't relationship marketing. You hadn't got one yet. So I'm going to go home and send him a note, say it's nice meeting you in Starbucks the other day. I hadn't been to Farmington, but if I get in the area, I'll send you a note. I hope things are going good in software development. I hope your